Hello and welcome to the first of our snowboard gear guide setup videos. Today we're going to be talking about our stance and how we can set it up so it's perfect for you. Having a good stance really helps you use the board more efficiently, which will make you a better rider. Also, it reduces stress on any of your joints and ligaments. So today we're going to talk about our stance direction, whether you're regular or goofy, how wide apart you want your bindings, whether you want your bindings set back, the angle of your feet, how to set up your bindings for your boots, and also your high back position. So first off is our stance. Which way are you going to ride? Left foot forward or right foot forward? Goofy riders ride with their right foot forward. Regular riders ride with their left foot forward. And it's a completely natural thing. It's nothing to do with your right-handed or left-handed or whatever. It's not even to do with your dominant foot in football. It could be anything. So the easiest way to work this out is simply to get somebody to push you from behind. Whichever foot you put in front would generally be your more dominant foot and the foot that you want to put on the front of your snowboard. Another way of doing it is find something that's really slippery, run along and slide along it. Whichever direction you slide would generally be the way that you slide on a snowboard as well. Now, this isn't a foolproof way of working it out. When I started snowboarding, I never actually bothered to work it out, but I just assumed I was regular, and I rode that way for about 2 years. It's before I realised something wasn't quite right and it wasn't my natural way. Now, this made my switch riding really good, but it also set back my progress as a snowboarder. So have a little go, try both ways when you're on the mountain, but you'll generally find you'll have one way which will just feel a lot easier. So now we're going to talk about whether we want our binding to be set back at all. Now, if you're a beginner, I generally recommend you start with them centred. The reason is it starts by teaching you proper technique on riding a snowboard, and also it makes it easier to start learning to ride switch. Now, if you do want to set back a little bit, generally if you're just cruising around the mountain, you don't really ride switch at all, and you're just an all-round rider and things like that, then just having it 1 or 2 centimetres set back might make it a little more comfortable to ride. If you're all out power riding, you just want to hit that powder, you've got a powder board set up, then you'll want it way more set back. This will take the pressure off your back foot, which will make it a lot easier in powder to keep your weight back and keep your nose up and out of the snow. So it really depends on your riding. As I say, if you're a beginner or you're not sure, just have it centred and take it from there. So now we're going to talk about our binding width. How far apart do we want our feet? So rather than thinking about it as in terms of how wide do I want my feet on the board, but think of it as how wide can you use your body properly. So what I want you to do is to get your board, put it onto the floor, and you can do this in your snowboard boots up on the mountain or in your socks at home or whatever, but just put your feet shoulder width apart just behind your board. You're then going to put pressure onto your feet, and you're going to start by putting pressure onto your right leg, on your toes, on the outside of your foot. You're then going to stay on the outside of your foot and put pressure on your heels. Then your left foot, once again, the outside of your foot on your toes, and then the outside of your foot on your heels. Now, moving this pressure replicates what you're doing when you're snowboarding. It replicates the twisting of the board that really helps you generate those turns. So all you've got to do is put your feet further and further apart until you start to feel that you're getting less pressure on the outside of your foot, and then bring it back in a little bit, and wherever you get the maximum amount of pressure on the outside of your foot is where you want your binding to be and how wide your feet need to be. Now, bear in mind, when you're doing this, you don't want to be moving your hips all over the place. You're just moving your knees and your hips very slightly, just to move the pressure. It's not much movement. Just imagine you're on a snowboard and you're just trying to do some turns. So now that we've worked out the width, we then need to work out our angles. So mark out the width of your feet with a bit of marking tape or something so you don't forget it. And grab your bindings. You're just going to stand on top of your snowboard and just let your feet sit naturally. You'll find your feet probably have a slight natural duck in them, which means that they're slightly spread outwards, which gives us that angle that we use. Once you've done that, you're going to grab your binding, and your binding has a hole at the bottom with a base plate, and you're simply going to place the binding next to your foot. Now, once you've done that, you're going to place the base plate in line with the screw holes, in line with the bolt holes that are on this snowboard. Put that in like that, and that should hopefully be your rough angle that you actually want it to be. So, have a look at the angle. For me, it's 15, so I've got this at 15, which is what I have it as anyway, which is ideal. Now, once again, you may have to tweak this when you're on the mountain. It's only a rough guide, so have a little go on the mountain, change it about. You might find that you want it slightly different. So the next thing to do is to attach our binding to our board. So we've got our width is marked here with our marking tape, and all you've got to do is grab your binding and place it on your snowboard, lining up the holes in the base plate of the binding with holes on the snowboard. Now you'll notice that there's a bit of forward and backward adjustment on your binding. Now I recommend you start with its centre, just put it right in the middle, and then as you go riding, if you find you have a bit of toe drag or heel drag, then just adjust it forwards and backwards as needed. But most people should be fine on the centre. So now that they're lined up, we're going to grab our bolts with our washers and simply put them into the holes. Once they're in, we're going to grab our screwdriver and tighten them all up. Now don't tighten them up too much to start with, just get them all on there loose so you know they all fit in nicely and you don't accidentally cross thread anything. Once they're on there, all nice and loose, you can then tighten them up just like you would a car wheel. So you're going to go for opposite. So pick a screw, you're going to tighten that one up. Don't go too tight. If you tighten it too much you could damage your snowboard, but just tight enough that it feels solid on the snowboard. Then you're going to go to the opposite bolt, do the same for that one. Then move to the next one, and then opposite bolt again to the last one. Then go around it again, just double check that they're all the same tightness and they're tight enough. So now that we've got both bindings on the board, we then need to fit the binding to our boots. So have a look around your binding, see what you can adjust on them. Every binding is slightly different. But most bindings should be able to adjust the length of the straps on both the straps here. Now you should also be able to adjust the base plate here. You can move it forwards and backwards depending on your size of your boot. And you can adjust the bottom of the strap to move them further up or down. And finally you can adjust the high back as well. Now put your foot into the binding. Imagine you're sort of strapping into it like that. Tighten it up. See what it looks like. So this, we've got a nice firm connection all the way along the bottom. The length of the binding is about perfect. The straps are right in the middle of the boot, which means they're going to be most comfortable when I'm on the mountain. And it all just looks like a nice good fit, and that's what you're looking for. Once it's adjusted like that, then you should be all good on the mountain, have nice comfortable bindings, and you shouldn't have any movement in your foot when you're trying to snowboard. Do that for both of your boots. And then the final thing you've got to talk about is the high back adjustment. So if you turn your bindings around, have a look on the back, you've got a little adjuster here. Now basically this adjusts the forward lean of your binding, which makes your board more or less responsive to your boots. So the higher the number, the more your binding will come forward towards your calf, which will mean that as you go into your heel edge, it will be more responsive. It will snap onto your heel edge really quickly, which gives you a nice responsive ride. But if you're a beginner, you might want a bit more of a playful, easy way to start, so maybe just leave it on 0 or on 2. If you're a freestyle rider, you like jibbing around, again 0 or 2 is probably good. If you're more of an aggressive rider, you're riding around the mountain a lot more, you're carving, maybe you're riding pipe and big kickers and stuff, then you probably want to bump it up a little bit, maybe put it up to 4, and it will just bring that extra responsiveness out of your snowboard. But again, just try it out and see what it's like. There's no surefire way of saying which one to set it on, just have a go, see what it's like. Every binding is different, and whatever you like is the best. So, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. If you have any comments or questions, ask below or go to www.bondringo.com and ask away on there to find many more tutorials as well. As I say, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.